We recently visited and stayed at the Hilton Yala Resort in Sri Lanka, and I believe the hotel is incredible. Well, almost incredible. We'll do our review of the Hilton Yala Resort with the same 5-point framework that we used for the Andaz in Scottsdale. We'll review and rate the amenities, the room, the food, the hospitality, and the location, and come to the conclusion of why the Hilton Yala Resort is almost incredible. Let's start with the first point of the 5-point scoring system, which is the amenities at the hotel. And here we'll start with the common areas in the lobby. As you enter the property, you're welcomed by a member of the staff. As you get further in, you get to a terrace with a view of the swimming pool. It is a decent sized pool with seating and cabanas, but in our time, no one sat here. From the same terrace, you get a view of the national park and the ocean. There's a massive door guarding the entrance, and as you enter the lobby, you're greeted by the large ceilings at the hotel. The reception is on the right. As you go straight on, you'll get to the restaurant, and on the left is a small bar and lobby. The hotel is relatively new, having been built about 16 months ago. The overall property has about 42 rooms and is the only Hilton property that's housed within a national park. This hotel gives you the feeling of a boutique hotel more so than any other Hilton property that I've ever stayed at. The obvious question that comes to mind when the hotel is in the middle of a national forest is, what about a safari? So the property can help you organize a safari. They partner with a bunch of rangers and you can book your particular safari well in advance of your stay. They charge you about $150 per person. The number of jeeps and the time during the day that these jeeps can enter is limited. The challenge we faced was not so much with the safari, but with the ranger the day before we were supposed to go on the safari. So here's the deal. One of the rangers will come over to your table during dinner the day before you're supposed to take the safari. Unfortunately, the ranger that was talking to us at dinner oversold us heavily on the number of leopards we were going to see. In the flow of the conversation, he ended up saying that we could see hundreds of leopards during our safari. Well, that wasn't entirely true, because the ranger the next day that was supposed to be on the safari with us told us that there are a total of 70 leopards within the national forest. You have to be somewhat lucky to spot a leopard. During the course of our safari, we spotted one leopard, a few elephants, plenty of monkeys, peacocks, as well as some crocodiles. Most of the drivers here will use a cell phone while they're driving, as they're coordinating with people who have sightings within the national forest, and the driving is pretty intense. Let's come back into the hotel. The hotel staff will consistently ask you to take buggies everywhere around in the hotel. Some of the hotel staff told us that they've seen elephants, crocodiles, monkeys are galore within the hotel. And so for your safety, especially during the evenings, it's best to call a buggy and go where you need to go. During our stay here, we visited the spa as well as the gym. The gym was under construction and it was pretty small, but if you consider that the hotel itself has about 42 rooms, it was good enough for that size of a hotel. We also did spa on one of the days, and the facilities were pretty decent. My sister's and my spa was pretty good, but my dad and mom didn't enjoy theirs. So all in all, the amenities at the hotel get a 4.5 out of 5. Let's move on to the rooms, and spoiler alert, this is where the hotel really shines. After we checked in at the lobby, the duty manager of the hotel took us to our rooms, and we had rooms one on top of the other. And as you entered the rooms, you realize that this is going to be a stunning stay. After entering the room, the beds were on the left-hand side. There was a small table where you can sit down and have tea, a small sofa. There was also a decent-sized workstation if you needed to get some work done. If you step outside of the room on the ground floor, you could see the plunge pool. And the room also had one of those espresso machines from Nespresso, so you were not going to run short of coffee in the room. And then the bathrooms were stunning as well. Huge bathtubs, separate areas for the toilet as well as showers. They had those overhead showers with really good bath soaps, bath gels and shampoos, double vanity mirrors, and a small makeup area as well. The only difference between the room downstairs and the room upstairs was that the room upstairs had a jacuzzi in it. So all in all, the room was a definite 5 on 5 for me. That brings us to the third point of consideration, which is the food. During our stay at the hotel, we only ended up having breakfast and dinner. The breakfast spread at the hotel was pretty light. Now, it is not light when compared to breakfast options that you get in hotels in the US. But when you know that your benchmark is every other hotel in Asia, one can safely say that the breakfast spread was slightly sparse. You had a bunch of cereals, you had nuts. There was a small island table which had a bunch of options like bakery, nuts, cereals, some milk, and the live counter was right behind it where you could order omelets and such. The breakfast was the one thing where I felt like the hotel underdelivered. After breakfast one of the days when we were walking back, the duty manager asked me for feedback and I told him what I thought about the breakfast. So to our surprise, during dinner, the executive chef at the hotel, Chef Jerome, walks up to our table and makes sure we have one of the best dining experiences in Sri Lanka. Everything from the butter, the bread, the vegan options, to the prawns, the fish fillet, and everything in between was absolutely phenomenal. So here's a small shout out to Chef Jerome. And all in all, the food gets a 4 out of 5 in my books. Hospitality is where most hotels in Asia really stand out. And this hotel was no different. Everyone at the hotel was extremely helpful, gracious, and paid a lot of attention to the needs of all the customers staying at the hotel. Like I mentioned in the previous section, there was a small hiccup during breakfast, but the duty manager and all the staff members more than made up for it. And that, in my opinion, is a stronger sign of hospitality than what actually went wrong. It's how you bounce back, not how you fell. But here's the kicker. Most hotels in Sri Lanka will have the duty manager give you their WhatsApp number so you can communicate with them. And this comes in really handy when you need something. Like we booked our spa appointment through a WhatsApp message. If you have any issues within the room, you can use the same WhatsApp message to communicate with the duty manager and get it solved. And I felt like it was that incremental touch that made it special. All in all, hospitality gets a 5 out of 5. And that brings us to the location. The reason why you go to Yala is to visit the national forest. And if that's the baseline we are operating from, well, there is no better hotel to be staying at than the Hilton Yala in this area. The hotel is really close to the national forest, and in the morning when we went for the safari, it took us less than 15 minutes to get to the entrance of the reserve. Note that the road leading up to the hotel aren't in the best condition. And when we talked to the hotel about this, they mentioned that the road was part of the national forest and there was nothing that they could do about it. So here, the calculation is pretty simple. In my opinion, it's a 5 on 5 on location. So that brings the Hilton Yala Resort to a total score of 23.5 on 25. And hence why the Hilton Yala in my books is almost incredible. To book this resort, we used about 80,000 Hilton points per night per room. So we spent a total of 2 nights here. That amounts to 320,000 Hilton Honors points. If you look at this time of the year, which is in December and Jan, which is peak seasonality in Sri Lanka, the per night hotel prices range between $900 to $1,100. So we were easily able to extract more than 1 cent per point on our Hilton Honors point, which by the way, have a base value of around 0.5. If you've stayed at the hotel, let me know what you thought about it. If not, I'll see you in the next one.